What are the key points in doing the due diligence process while finding a distributor?
Okay, if you are starting out from scratch and the first process you're looking at distributors is you research the market and look to see, will your product be acceptable in that market?
Okay.
So if we take that's an added step into just starting. Look at what your competitors in the market are doing and then see what kind of distributors they use. If you've already pre-selected a number of distributors, and if we start at that point that you've done your market research on the market that you want to go into, then you would look at it and say, first question you ask those customers and suppliers of that distributor, what do they think of the distributor? And you give them a number of distributors so you're not eradicating one or the other.
Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to the new episode of Live Sattviko Talks. Today we have with us Mr. Alan Jack from the UK. Hi Alan, good morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. Good to see you
again. Great to see you back.
Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, we have with us Mr. Alan, and he's the Director of International Development at Grocer Global UK, and he has been into food space since 1987. He has handled various roles in the field of sales, events, and a few more. And in 2007, Alan was awarded the Food from Britain Export Inspiration Award as well. He has worked with some international brands such as Godiva and United Biscuits across UK and South Africa. And of course, apart from work, he also voluntarily work in the field of wildlife conservation. So Alan, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you having on the chat today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So viewers, today we'll be talking about the distributorship and what is the right method to find a distributor in the global market. Since Alan has got a great experience across various parts of the world. So that is the reason we have with us Alan today, and happy to take this forward. So Alan, I mean, if I can start it this way, what are the key points in doing the due diligence process while finding a distributor?
Okay, if you are starting out from scratch and the first process you're looking at distributors is you research the market and look to see, will your product be acceptable in that market?
Okay.
So if we take that's an added step into just starting. Look at what your competitors in the market are doing and then see what kind of distributors they use. If you've already pre-selected a number of distributors, and if we start at that point that you've done your market research on the market that you want to go into, then you would look at it and say, first question you ask those customers and suppliers of that distributor, what do they think of the distributor? And you give them a number of distributors so you're not eradicating one or the other in their terms. So they give you a better perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a feeling for how they are perceived in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do is understand what other imported goods do they bring in? Because a lot of distributors in certain markets will tell you they're always the biggest and they're the best.
Right.
That is not always the case.
Of course.
It's what they would like to be.
Right.
So if you are going to employ a staff member to your company, think of it that way. You're wanting to have a relationship with that employee that's going to have the values you have, and is that person a fit for your business?
Oh, absolutely.
Plus their skill set that you see. So you interview those people and you deem it as that, because that's what it is effectively going to become. They are going to be an extension of your business. So you base it on those where you can work with people. You might have the biggest distributor really wants your product, but you'll just disappear in their cluster of goods. So look at those. And that's where it comes in. Do they collect brands or do they build brands?
Right.
Clear definition on that is if a person is just collecting, you look at them and they say, I've got 20,000 SKUs. They could be a brand collector.
Right.
They've got no passion for one specific one. It's whatever will deliver the bottom line for them.
Mm-hmm.
Look for a brand builder who might only have a few brands that they import, but they build those brands. And we pick that up over the course of time. You actually get to learn who those type of people are. And for example, I've got a number of customers where someone says to me, take this brand to market, into that market. I'll know straight away which ones to start looking at and which ones not to, because you get a feel for the people involved and what they do.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean to say every brand will go with the same distributor. It doesn't work that way. So you look at it and you evaluate it.
Right.
And so that's that's the approach you need to look at. So if you understand where you want to put your product, what the market is, and look at those questions. Those are just some of the questions. And so that's the starting point.
Right. So, I mean, down to my next question. So, tell me one thing, how can a brand find out whether the distributor has the right resources to invest in the partnership or not? How can a brand identify that?
Okay, it's you start asking questions when you're talking to the brand. You ask them about their infrastructure. What size are they? How much office staff do they have? Do they have warehousing that's their own or rented warehousing? How many staff do they have in the warehouse? How many staff do they have on sales, on telesales? And how many distribution vehicles do they have? Do they cover the whole country? Do they cover the main cities only? A lot will say to you, I've got coverage everywhere. As an example, if you go into India, the people will say to you, I cover the whole of India. Then you realize, no, India is so vast. They will use sub-distributors.
Yes.
So you want to find out, do they use sub-distributors? Because remember, it's your brand, not theirs. And you've got to protect your brand.
True.
So you ask those questions. And another way of doing it is, do they have merchandising teams? Do they subcontract merchandising teams? Or does the delivery guy doing that delivery have to merchandise before he goes to the next store?
Sure.
Those are critical elements to how much volume you're going to get. Because he's only going to deliver once a week, maybe. So he's only going to merchandise your store once a week. So you need to ask those sort of questions.
And I think you rightly mentioned this merchandising thing is really important, right? Because ultimately it is end of the day, you need to have a great velocity from the shelves, right? And if the merchandising is not done properly, then I mean, you will not really have any clue as to what is happening at a particular store. So
correct. Yeah. If it's not on shelf, it does not go into the trolley.
Right.
And a consumer doesn't want to go into a store and see part empty shelves, which is untidy. They like to see something that catches their eye and they can visualize it and say, yes, I want that, because it's there, they see it, they take it. Volume creates, backup volume creates more volume going out the store because there's stock pressure. So that's what you want. Another thing is, if the person is suddenly pushing you for long payment terms, he's asking you to fund his business. So does he really have the funds to invest in your brand?
Right.
He's asking you to fund your brand and his business so he can make profit. And he might be paying someone else's debts to some other company using your product, and you rotate that. So those are quick things you work it out. You say to a person, it's 50% upfront, 50% on delivery for first few orders, then you might give them terms.
Right.
And if that's acceptable and it's stuck to, then you've got no problem.
All right. You're right. So, I mean, Alan, since you have worked across various geographies in the world, if you can list down maybe 3 or 4 expectations which a distributor typically has from the brand.
Okay. There's 2 parts to this. There's the expectation from the brand owner for the distributor. And then obviously a distributor is going to have expectations of you. So if we look at it, the expectations as the brand owner to a distributor is you want to have KPIs set. You want to know what the number of selling points is they're going to do. You want to ensure your brand image is preserved. So you do not want to give away the rights that they can use your brand images for their marketing. It needs to be approved before they can use it for marketing. They might send the wrong message. So you must always control that. Right. Ensure the distributor does not deface your packaging. That must be written down. That could be your date codes, things like that. Okay. If you're putting an over sticker on, that's fine because you've approved it. Clear returns policy for damages. Now, the brand owner and the distributor share that common expectation to know clearly what is the policy. Usually, if you're exporting around the world, returning goods back to your base is uneconomical.
Of course.
So you've got to look at ways that maybe destroy that, or if it's just a packaging damage, not the content, and the content's still intact, finding a way you can alleviate that by selling that as a devalued item.
Right.
Not in your main sectors of market because you don't want to devalue your product. Okay. Transparency. That's both ways. Brand owners and distributors want transparency.
Right.
So that's the expectations. The expectation of a distributor is, do you have a marketing budget? How much is allocated to that market? And I would set marketing budgets based on turnover as a percentage of turnover. Yes. So it can generate, just to give them a guide. Sometimes you need to have upfront spend, yes, but you still do it as a percentage of expected turnover.
Right.
So that you can do it that way. And another expectation is you want to have, what are the forecasts? If someone's going to buy 1 pallet a year, are they the distributor for you?
Right.
Not necessarily. You want to be able to build. So those are expectations. Brand owners also, not brand owners, but distributors want to know, have you got a promotional program? Have you got point of sale material? They might ask you for exclusivity. And those are things that only you as the brand owner can decide. What is your strategy in that market? You might give exclusivity to a certain market, but not to others. Those are things that you look at, but only that's determined by your specific product and your strategy in entering that. But generally, you would try and avoid those because you want to grow your business and spread it. And that person might not be the right one to start with. Right. Marriages don't last forever. So it's just looking at those sort of things to say how best to manage it. But those are nuances within your strategic plan that you set out for a country. And break down your strategic plan by country.
Getting it.
So I would look at things like that, yes.
I think this was super useful. Alan, what do you think? I mean, why is it important to bifurcate and define the roles and responsibilities clearly between the distributor and the brand?
Yes. I said marriages don't last forever, but good fences make good neighbors.
Yes.
Okay. And what you need to do is have clear, defined agreements with people. Transparency is important. What I would look at, communication is always key. You've always got to communicate throughout the business. So your own business communicating through, but also through the distributor business is talking to the sales reps, the merchandisers, and never think the most important person in the distributor is the MD or the buyer. The most important person is the merchandiser.
Yes, the person who is on the ground and going at the stalls.
Have your relationships with those people because they tell you the truth.
Right.
They've got no other objective in life. They've got no preconceived ideas. They tell you what is happening in the marketplace. When you visit, go there, talk to them, make them your best friends because they are wonderful people. And they are the glue that holds everything together. That MD wouldn't be there without that merchandiser packing that shelf, getting it off. And the salesperson and the delivery person. Those are the key people you need to. So those are the things. I would also say you've got your clear roles of what is expected of that distributor, what is expected of you as the supplier. The distributor will take it to market. They will protect your brand. You will provide some marketing support. You will provide information. You will provide training to their sales staff. Don't expect just to sell the product to them and it's going to carry on. You need to train those people. So have joint meetings with them.
Right. And that continuous improvement is important, right? Because you get to learn a lot from the stores. So that continuous improvement is also important.
Absolutely. When you sit down and do a training session with people, they learn about your product. If you are the only supplier that's going to that distributor to train their staff, believe me, your product will be the forefront of what those sales teams sell.
Yes.
Because you've taken the time to spend with them and teach them, let them taste the product. That's the important thing. It's not only consumers that need to taste, it's also the staff need to taste.
Right.
So they know what they are selling.
Yes.
It's crucial. It really does make a difference. I like to do supply days where I go in and I do quizzes with the team. I do a training session and then I do quizzes and I give them something for it.
Yes.
Ask questions and they give back the right answers and you give them a reward.
Yes.
That can be product, it could be cash. It just creates enthusiasm.
Yes.
For the team. Yeah, and you build that teamwork at there. Incoterms are also very important in that. That distributor needs to understand clearly what the Incoterm is because that guides how you get paid is one of the aspects. And it also guides who pays what.
Yes.
So when you supply, you don't want them suddenly saying, oh, but you need to pay the duties now. No, our Incoterms was X works, CIF, whichever it was. And that defines who pays what.
Right.
And that's held in international law. So that's important, having those clearly defined.
Right.
It's just having those pieces of paper in there, that there it is, there's no ambiguity. That's what is expected from everyone.
Right.
And go and visit. Agree. You will visit the marketplace at least twice a year.
Right.
A 6-month review and a 12-month review.
Yes, that's really important.
And you've got to be seen. And also with that distributor, when you're visiting there, don't do it for an hour's meeting. Say to the distributor, I'm coming for 2 days. I would like to, on day 1, I would like to have a meeting with your team. and then go out to the marketplace with your team. Day 2 in the marketplace, and the end of day 2, a meeting with the key people at the business to say, right, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going forward.
Right. And I think now, since places are opening up again after COVID, so I think these things will start happening again, right? Because last 1.5 years was pretty, I mean, up and down. But I think now these things will start happening again.
Yes. Even prior to that, there are businesses that didn't bother visiting the marketplaces. Okay.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
I know of very big companies that didn't go to a particular country because of fear. They were happy to sell, but they were too scared to go and visit because they hear too many stories. Well, you've still got to go and visit. You've got to treat them with respect. They're buying your product. So, yes. So, look, there are some businesses that don't want to do that. They won't be as successful as the person who does.
Yes, that's right.
That's the thing. So that can set you aside.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So those are things, yeah.
Last question for the session. So, Alan, I mean, what kind of policies should a brand create before onboarding a distributor? I mean, should there be a checklist, or what kind of policies should a brand make? Because we have a lot of audience who are the brand owners and the entrepreneurs who are now going overseas. So this will be really helpful for them.
Absolutely. It's crucial. Once again, it comes back to having that good fences making good neighbors. If you've got, never sign an agency agreement, okay? That's the first thing. Do a heads of agreement. And we have templates of these things. A heads of agreement is a basic understanding between yourselves as the brand owner and distributors, and or a direct customer, such as a direct retail customer, where you outline what is the expectations within that. You outline the Incoterms.
Okay.
It also clearly states they will not have title to your brand. So you've got to protect your brand.
Yes.
So that all those things go in that heads of agreement. But because it's a heads of agreement, not an agency agreement, agency agreements, the risks of them are, if you part company with that distributor, that person, if he's an agent, they've got you over a barrel, because a lot of those agency agreements are protected in law by the government.
Yes.
So for example, in Europe, if you go to France and you give an agency agreement, you can be paying that person a commission for life.
Yeah. I remember that.
In America, there's brokerage agreements that protect the brokers. So if you part company for 3 years, you can still be paying a commission to that person based on the sales.
Yes.
So heads of agreement offset that. Both parties agree to it, so it is binding in law.
Yes.
But you haven't got the adverse aspects of it. Do not go into blindly into signing broker agreements, because as per agency agreement, broker agreements in certain countries protect the broker, not you as the supplier.
Right.
So look at it carefully. America, Europe, places like that, that can be problematic. There was a company that thought they could go into the rest of Europe. They had a agency agreement with a chap who didn't sell a single product. But then when they wanted to go into the rest of the market, he held up his agreement and says, I've got an agency agreement for the whole of Europe. Get out of it. It cost them nearly £1 million.
Yeah.
And hadn't sold a single product through this guy. So careful.
It's really important to understand that particular country's norms in order to, run a smooth business.
Absolutely. Clear KPIs on volume or value that you expect. Reporting on activity. Clear reporting what you expect in a report and how often. Do you want a quarterly report? Do you want a monthly report or an annual report? Those are things that you need to have clear. What is expected in that? How many sales points are you in? You want to know that per month. What is your rate of sale per channel? You want to know that kind of information. So that you put down and you have a template. That's what I want in my report back. And that should be fundamentally very easy for a distributor, because they should be doing that for their own business anyway.
Correct. That's right.
So you do that. Forecasts, because you're going to, with exporting, you've got a longer lead time. So you need forecasts. Initially, that's difficult. I understand that it's difficult, but you can have a guide and say, that's what we expect in the first quarter. So it gives you time to plan your production accordingly.
Right.
And setting out your clear lead times. It's no use saying, place your order and we'll deliver it next week. It's not going to happen. You need to say it's going to take 3 weeks to produce, because you want the best shelf life. And you've also got to secure the shipping.
Yes.
And at the moment, shipping is the problem.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely.
So it's looking at clear, defined lead times. So the expectation coming to the market is clear. You're not having a service failure because it's within those parameters. That's why you would do it. Clear promotional plan. What is your promotional plan for the year as the brand owner? What is the promotional plan from the distributor? Because he's going to have other products that he's got promotional plans for. Are there conflicting brands? Try and avoid those. You can't always avoid them. They will want exclusivity, but don't want to give you exclusivity.
Yes.
That's part of the thing. Agree involvement from brand owner to do market visits, as I said before. So that you're there, you're part of their business. You're seen as part of their business, and you're not a partnership, but in effect, you're working as partners.
And visiting gives you a real-time feedback as well, right? You get to understand what's really happening on the ground. So that's really important.
Yes. Yeah, and you want to be involved in the national account meetings. If it's a major listing coming on with a retailer, you want to be involved. You might not be at the meeting, but you want to have some input and feedback. You also want to know who that buyer is. If you part company and you want to move to someone else, you've lost all your invested time and money into getting that account. Because you don't have the key people that you in the retailer and the customer. So you want to have info about that. And when you have partnerships, yes, you're not expecting them to fall apart within a couple of years, but a joint venture usually lasts about 5 years and then it falls away. So think of that. If a joint venture can fall apart, so can a distribution partnership. So plan for the worst, expect the best. But have that backup plan. So having documentation and clear documentation of what all these things, a simple heads of agreement template that you can use for everyone, that works very, very well.
Right.
So yes, having that checklist, having documentation of what is the way forward. Yeah, you don't go into, otherwise you're going into it blind. And remember, when someone's dealing with you, they're looking for the best interest for them, not necessarily you. You've got to look at the best interest for your business. And you walk a tightrope, really. You're keeping your business happy, and you're keeping your customer and the consumer happy. And it's getting a balance. Everything's about balance.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, with yoga, you've got to be well balanced.
Of course.
In business, you've got to be well business. You've got to be well balanced in it. And that's what it's about. The other thing you've got to do is have fun. Do not, if it gets that it's driving you nuts and it's going to kill you, it's not for you.
Awesome. So, I mean, Alan, that was really awesome of you. The kind of responses which you gave to all these questions has been phenomenal. So, thank you so much once again, and really appreciate your time on this session.
No, thank you very much.